matrix of soteriological movements that we need, along with Christian and Druid and all that. Okay, so that's the work. What interests me is how religious mathematics can contribute to this. And as I said in my French introduction, I'm trying to sort of carry on and be faithful to the insights of René Gaynor here, that we need to get back to a qualitative universe, not a quantitative one. We're all being locked down in terror because of numbers, and they're not asking the right questions because the system can only think mathematically. So many tests, so many deaths, Nobody's actually talking English or a language anymore, saying, well, hang on, where did this come from? Who did it to us? Why has it happened? These are words that have value and meaning and purpose, not numbers. So, yes, we need to gather the resistance, guys, which is the people that actually still talk, language instead of just numbers. And that's what my book is about. I'm recalibrating mathematics as a force for ethics. Okay, I'm going to finish with my poem as usual, because I've said enough. That's I hope you enjoyed my little talk. And then this is a little poem to finish, which I wrote actually in Greece as one of my other Shambhala kingdoms. I love Greece, as you know probably if you follow my work. I just want to say one thing, just to finish. I started to and then got diverted. I discovered this amazing Prime Minister of the 5th Dalai Lama today, who's got a complex and unpronounceable name in Tibetan. And that he'd written an amazing, he's said by people to be the greatest intellectual Tibet ever produced. And his works is just now beginning to be studied. He was called Sangyas Cho, 1653 to 1705. He was the regent to the 5th Dalai Lama. And he wrote a number of amazing works, which are just being translated and studied now. He reckoned there were five types of knowledge, and he was a master of all of them. And he wrote a book which is translated into English as Iconometry, which is a type of religious measurement used for ornamentation and religious imagery in Tibetan Buddhism and in the Kalachakra Tantra. So iconometry measures the placing of the ritual objects. Where do you put the statue of Kalachakra with his consort, who was the mother goddess of the universe? And these Kalachakra Tantra icons are usually seen in Maithuna, sacred communing of energies, which was regarded by them as part of the vehicle to enlightenment. There were two schools in Tibetan Kalachakra Tantra. Either you practice this with a consort, and there were female practitioners of a high level of enlightenment, and their male consorts. And it was a practical, a way of practicing esoteric sexuality for enlightenment, the dyadic relationship, or as I call it, a wisdom affair. Or you didn't actually, you were celibate, but you visualized it. So some orders, Gelugpa monks and so on, just visualize this. But they did visualize actually, as it were, the Maithuna in theory, but not practice. The Nyingmapa, the old school, tended to say, no, look, that's cheating, do the real thing. I can see there's, arguments for both sides, but, if you're fortunate enough to meet a consort that's you can practice this with, then my advice is do so, because you become a much more powerful co-vehicle for enlightenment if you're working with someone and you can study together, you can research, you can explore these mysteries together. Now, the use of sacred objects, and I have them here, dorjes, which is the thunderbolt, or the vase, which is the bell, standing for the female, dorje is the male. When you where you ritually place them on the altar as you're doing your rituals. That's iconometry, and how you measure the sacred tankas, the pictures of the Kalachakra Tantra itself. So this man wrote a whole book about iconometry, and so that's in my religious mathematics book. And I take my hat off to the detail and devotion. And it's the same with Tibetan art in general. You know, these tankas are not just random, they're all carefully mathematically worked out. The math shows a kind of divine proportion or harmony. And like I was saying in my French bit, numbers are regarded as divine in all the religions in the world because they are the clue that Maya has a meaning and a purpose and a story and a narrative. Maya isn't just random chaos. There's beauty to it, and the beauty is revealed by the order as revealed in mathematics, which is at the basis of art. So, just a little footnote, this Prime Minister, it's now realised, he kept secret the death of the Dalai Lama for 15 years. He was able to, in the Patala, somehow carry on as if the Dalai Lama was still alive 15 years. That's, a bit like, that was naughty. That was naughty. But he just wanted to finish his writings, didn't want to be chucked out of the library. And people are trying to write his biography still. A lot of the materials are in the Patala still. And I've discovered doing this research that there is still a huge library left in the Patala Palace, which I'm really happy about. The Chinese didn't destroy everything. They may have eaten the odd monk, but they didn't, thank God, destroy all the books. They destroyed a lot of them. I believe they destroyed the library at Shigansei, which is an absolute cultural catastrophe. And elsewhere, the monastery where Dolpopa lived, that library's gone. But in the Patala, there are still many, many thousands of volumes, and scholars are beginning to have access, beginning to see what's there. What is there in the Patala library still about the Kalachakra Tantra? That's an interesting question, and people are studying this. I don't know if you know, but I'll just mention, I actually had a vision dream download that the solution for the Dalai Lama and the Tibet-China thing is that he should be allowed to go back to the Patala Palace by the Chinese authorities and granted like 10 acres around the Patala Palace, including the whole palace, in the way that the Vatican has in Rome. The Pope has his Vatican, which is not very big at all. And he can run his Catholic religion from there, and everyone's happy. Meanwhile, the Italian people get on with their lives and have a normal, secular kind of life, even though a lot of them are Catholic. Well, why can't the Dalai Lama be given as a nice goodwill gesture by the Chinese? The Patala Palace, he can, have his library back. He can sit there and do his meditations and, all the rest of it. Give his teachings. I mean, he's an innocent little guy. Just wants people to go and listen to him talking about Buddhist meditation and happiness. He's got a good laugh. I haven't met him. And he encourages scholars. He likes people to think and all that. He would do it on a promise not to interfere in politics. No, fine, you can deal with all that. He'd be much happier not having to do politics. And he could just do spiritual, metaphysical, philosophical teaching. He wouldn't have to live there all the time. It would just be symbolic. Anyway, that's my solution to the Patala. And that would really make the Tibetans so happy because they're such an oppressed, sad people, I think. Anyway, if that can't be achieved, we can at least build a beautiful interfaith peace tower down on the southern tip where Avalokiteshvara lives, according to tradition. And that, why he lives there, and where that tradition came from, well, that's a whole other story. I might share it another time. Okay, this is a poem I wrote in Athens, which is the home of all true philosophers. All true philosophers have one foot in wherever you live, and then they're a citizen of Athens. When I went to Athens in 2013, my last significant visit was for the World Congress of Philosophy, which is a gathering of philosophers from all over the world. We meet every 5 years, and it was a great honour and pleasure to be there. And I met some amazing philosophers, joined in with the programme, gave some talks, and I was staying in a friend's flat, which I was very fortunate to use, in a part of Athens where Pericles used to live, who was the great hero of democracy, and he would have seen off the nonsense in the USA pronto. He was an inspiration for Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. So anyway, Pericles was in the air, and I was just in awe of, I just love Athens so much. It's so ancient and wise, and, there was Socrates, and that's where Plato founded the Academy, dedicated to the 9 Muses, who are the equivalent of the kind of dakinis of Kalachakra Tantra. And the Greek lineage goes back to the same roots, of course, as the same as Druids and Buddhists generally. They go back to this primal white light. Point of Plato's teachings was that is the vision of the good, the one, which the sage, the initiate, that's the goal of philosophy, is to attain that. Okay, so that's why I was there. And then this is the little poem I wrote. Because every night I was back home after the day's conferencing was over, and the dogs would start barking every night. It was this incredible raucous woof, woof, woof. And then it was the whole neighbourhood going woof, 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 everywhere, answering each other. Like the dogs of Athens go mad at a certain time of night. They all started barking. And I was sitting on the terrace and wrote this poem. It's called The Dogs of Athens. The Athenian evening winds down on the day, and the gathered dogs of the neighbourhood bark a concert to Cerberus, who guards the narrow passageway between these ordered empty streets and the underworld. Hungering for integration, extraplanetary civilizations come and study the original terminologies of traditional experiences, hovering above in their invisible vehicles of faster than light, dark energy propulsion systems. But even they, if they want to disembark and go down, have to pass through the gates of this chorus. Canine guardians, speaking in strange tongues, harsh, urgent, and fierce, all at once. What worlds have you explored thus far? Which hands have you raised to which feverish brow? What soft fingers have explored tentatively the languid breasts of the Athenian goddess, impacting on the prerogative of Prometheus in secret? Have you dared to disembark for the far citadel that surveys the flat plains of the Troad? How the vision of Helen, soldered to your soul, followed you into a fresh body to plunge forth again into the waves of circumstance, to re-enter into unknown regions. Each day you add to your store of remembrances. Like Penelope, you weave a pattern of meanings to fend off false systems as you await the homecoming of your true lover. Yet he or she is wandering afar off, beset by difficulties, abandoned to the wrath of Poseidon, held off always to the outer reaches, beyond the reefs where the waves are breaking endlessly. As always, with the assembly of epiphanies, new holy texts are outshaping as new alphabets, guiding the Logos back to its home bearings. The dogs are silent now. Their fierce urgency of communication stilled as they listen to their thoughts and other powers of sleep, nestling into their soft, drooling jowls, and the gates through and down are open again as night falls, star-wide, with Selene slipping her moorings, setting forth into the deepest blue. Right. Thank you. Say thank you, Bishy. Hope you liked my poem.